I've been described as intense my whole life, and you knew me a long time ago or even recently, you might not like the guy you know in this chair as much.
So I can hear all the good things that you do. You love really well. You've got great leadership. You've got great vision. You've got the mission. What's the thing you're working on as it pertains to you growing into the leader of a big family, a family of 6?
I was just baptized a couple weeks ago. I was raised heavily religiously and stepped away from the faith for a long time, but I've come back to that.
Whether you're looking for inspiration, guidance, or simply a moment of reflection, you're in the right place. This is Wisdom Stripes. Hello and welcome to Wisdom Stripes. My name is Meg Tuohy, and in today's episode, we'll dive deep into the world of entrepreneurship, resilience, and redefining success beyond material achievements. Our guest today is Matt Sessa, a distinguished serial entrepreneur and sales legend, widely recognized for his accomplishments in the home improvement industry. With accolades like Rookie of the Year at Vivint and the prestigious National Golden Door Award from D2D Experts, Matt has ranked among the top 1% in his field. His ventures span solar, roofing, beauty and aesthetics, and real estate investment, proving his versatility and impact across industries. But Matt's story isn't just about professional triumphs. It's about transformation. His journey includes battles with addiction, legal challenges, and mental health struggles, all of which he speaks about with an unflinching honesty. Matt believes these hardships shaped who he is today, a devoted husband, father, and mentor, dedicated to helping others find clarity, purpose, and strength. Today, he's here to share the wisdom earned through both failure and success, and what it truly means to rise, rebuild, and lead with integrity. I'm honored to welcome Matt Sessa to today's session. This is Wisdom Stripes, your no-nonsense, fierce fairy godparents turning pain and confusion into clarity and confidence. Matt, we always start with the same question for our guests. What wisdom would you like a listener to come away with today?
Well, thanks for having me today, Meg. I'm really excited to be here.
Me too.
You might not know this, but this has kind of been my dream for a long time. I have a hard story and a hard past, but if I'm being honest, I'm just a regular guy. I'm
Yeah.
not a guru.
Yeah.
And I'm still trying to figure out exactly what my wisdom is and if it's actually real, this change that I've made.
Oh.
So if I understand, I think you're a clinical psychologist.
So just a plain psychologist.
Maybe, see, I'm not that smart. But you're a psychologist.
I
and
am.
I attribute a lot of my success to getting professional help.
Yeah.
And I'm still on that path.
Yeah.
So what I was thinking would be really cool is maybe what I'm working on really hard in my life right now is this transition phase between a lot of the pain and suffering and becoming the person that I want to be,
Yeah.
but ultimately being able to share that message with people.
Yeah.
And I'm still trying to craft what that message is. I'm just a normal guy who's just figuring it out.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping maybe you can help me figure out what that is.
Well, let us see.
Let's
Let
get
us
into it.
see what kind of experience unfolds before us when we both come in with open hearts and an open mind.
Absolutely.
All right.
And I just want to let you know I'm not scared to go deep.
Oh, all right. Well, me neither.
Good.
So let's do this.
Absolutely.
So what do I need to know about you? What do we need to know about you, Matt?
I've been described as intense my whole life. And if you knew me a long time ago or even recently, you might not like the guy you know in this chair as much. And I'm proud of that. I'm proud of the changes that I've made. I wouldn't be who I am here today without the suffering that I've had. And I have a lot of stories. I have a lot of trauma that I've been through. There's some people I think that need to get knocked down and get back up. I think there's some people that need to get hit by a truck. I'm the type of guy that probably needs to get ran over a few times to really learn my lesson. So, but I've been through a lot of pain and suffering to get to where I am today. And I have some good stories if you want me to tell them.
Oh, we want to hear them.
Yeah.
All of us want to know your stories, my friend.
So hopefully I can take away some wisdom from each of those and
Yeah.
share a message of hope and resilience. That's my goal.
Well, let's do it.
Cool. What would you like to know?
Tell us the most important piece of your story.
The most important piece, what do you mean?
What I'm thinking about is when you look back at your timeline and you sift and sort through the highs and the lows, I'm really curious about the thing that stands out the most, where you're like, oh, that is a thing that many roads lead back to. That's a thing that hurts still, or that is a source of grit that I can alchemize and learn and grow from.
I think it's just understanding your trauma, because we all have our trauma, right? And that's okay. I think no matter who you are or where you're from, you're going to have some source of trauma. And that's the adversity in life that, you're supposed to look to overcome. I think that's what makes life fun.
Mm,
Without having that, life would be very bland.
mm,
So without being a victim,
mm,
I'd like to start off, where most I think psychologists would, which would be in my childhood and the way that I was raised. And that was very formative for me and led to a lot of pain trying to grow up on this journey from becoming a boy to a man, truly. And a lot of the pain and the lessons that I had to suffer long term to become who I am today.
yeah, let's go there. What's an experience from that time or that transition that sort of shimmers at you where you're like, that's the story I want to tell?
There's not exactly a story. It's just a theme, sitting in this
Mm,
chair today. If I looked at the man in the mirror on the way here, right? I've always struggled with insecurity. Um, and judgment from others, right?
mm,
And that stems from being a young man who was raised by a single mom
mm,
who needed a lot of father influence. I didn't get as much as I needed.
mm,
My mom did everything that she could for us,
mm,
not for us, for me. Um, but always feeling like we didn't have enough. She's a single mom, teacher, grew up in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
mm,
It was pretty tight. And so feeling the need for validation through achievement and how much I could make financially to prove myself, how much muscle I could put on my body to show the world how strong I was,
mm.
how much of this exterior shell or facade that I could make so that people approved of me. There's not a particular story that sticks out with that. It's a lifelong theme. It's a theme that I struggle with on the way here today.
Yeah,
And I'm sure a lot of people out there can relate.
of course.
Yeah.
I wonder, is it the absence of your dad?
Largely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things that defines me and who I am today is I remember a lot growing up saying, I will never be like that. I will be better.
Mm.
My dad and I are good now.
Oh.
And so, it's hard to say those things knowing that he'll probably listen to this.
Mm.
But the truth is I was a boy who needed a dad and I see how much my son needs his father. And it is so gratifying to be able to show up for him and it is so healing. But I remember the pain. I mean, that's probably when most of my problems started in middle school, um, was the time where I needed that fatherly influence to come down on me, to set an example, to set a standard, and to help me because I was lost.
Yeah, there's something very sacred about the father-son bond.
Absolutely.
I wondered because I'm not a man and so therefore I don't understand that bond.
Uh-huh.
I wonder, might you tell us what you wished for? Might you be able to describe the sense of loss or the desire for what you wished?
It's funny because I just had an aha moment. Obviously, more time, right? My parents were very conflicted
Yeah,
in their separation,
yeah.
and it was hostile. The communication a lot, never physical or anything crazy like that, but just when they were doing handoffs, every other weekend or sometimes Friday nights or whatever we were doing, watching the way my dad communicated with my mom, really rubbed off on me a lot, and that's something that I'm still working on. But that communication style was also the same with me.
Mm.
And he was very abrasive and, my dad has his trauma. And so
Of course.
I'm a big believer in looking at things through somebody else's perspective, right? Viewing their paradigm. And so I give him a lot of grace and a lot of slack, but still as a kid, I couldn't do that. Right.
Right.
And so he was very harsh with me. And I think ultimately my aha moment was the approval
Mm.
that I really sought from him. And I think not having that approval, I went and looked for it in other places.
Mm.
Um, boys just want to be the apple of their dad's eye. I see it with my son. God, it's going to get me going right now. But all that boy wants is my time and my attention and my affection. And I can't tell you, I kiss on that boy. I hug on that boy. I love on that boy. I tell him every day how proud I am of him. I mean, I wrap him up and I give him everything because I care so much. And it's so healing for me to be able to just pour into him. Um, and that's what I needed.
Mm.
I think that's what I needed. And maybe I have a bigger heart than most. I know that I'm highly empathetic and, pretty emotional. But that's okay. It makes me who I am, and I like to connect with my son, obviously at that level, but also strangers too, because there's a ton of dudes out there hurting. You can see the hurt, right? And I ran a sales team for a long time with a lot of guys, a lot of misfits. We called it a misfit ministry. My dad actually named it that. Ironically enough, he's like, "You got to run a misfit ministry. Run with a bunch of guys with similar issues to you, guys that were, battling sobriety or battling addiction, trying to get sobriety and, may have criminal backgrounds, probably struggle with some mental health issues, probably come from pretty humble beginnings and have stressed relationships with their dad." He didn't put that in there, but I asked guys in the room to raise their hands one time, and I think 15 of the 17 raised their hand. So, it's crazy how you attract that, when you recognize it and you know what to see.
Mm. I wonder what it feels like for you when you think about the intergenerational interruption that you're doing. So your experience from your dad was one where he did the best he could, and correct me if I'm wrong, his best was below the line of what you needed.
Y
And
yeah.
you then made a decision to have a different type of father presence for your son and your other children. What is it like being a father who wasn't fathered? Do you notice there's a gap?
There's lessons that I'm having to learn, like patience. One thing that stood out with me was my dad always talking about how he was like his dad and how his dad used to say, "Oh, I'm just like my dad." And he would say, "Gee, did I'm acting just like my dad." And my thought was, "Well, why are you acting that way?
Mm.
Don't be that way." My dad had a tough last 10 years losing his dad. He basically was separated, wasn't able to speak to him. It's a complicated story. But my dad had a lot of pain around that. And so I was encouraging him, "Well, hey, we can break this cycle. Hello, look at me. I still want your attention. Dad, I'm 35, I'm a multimillionaire. I got this big family. I've done all this stuff. Of course I have to put a financial achievement out because it's just who I am. I'm wired. It made me cringe that I even said that. But like, I have this success, Dad. Look at my house, look at my cars. Look at all this stuff. Like, look at me. And tell me you're proud of me. Give me the attaboys." And he just wanted to talk about his sadness with his dad. And so in a way, I'm nervous right now because I don't want to hurt my dad's feelings if he hears this. So but I've had to father my dad a little bit. And, um, and it's been interesting. Just kind of being the bigger man in a couple instances and trying to pass down, do that bloodline break to where, this is going to be different.
Yeah.
So it's been an interesting dynamic. One thing that I'm working on, so that we can have continued success is a 10 segment, like it's basically like a book or a manifesto, and it's going to have everything from like physical health and wellness to families, values, and like what we stand for, traditions, like the traditions that we do, and all these other like tenets that, we're going to rites of passage for my boys and, what we stand for as Sessas, like our honor system and, defending the weak, being men of nobility, men of honor. Um, I'm working on it right now, and I think it's gonna take me some time, but I'm excited to do that. I shared it with my dad, and, he thought it was pretty neat. My grandpa just passed away a couple weeks ago, and we were just at the funeral, and so I told my dad, I said, "You're the new patriarch now. You can make with this family what you want." And he's made a lot of amazing changes, and so I'm excited to see his growth too. But, we are working on breaking the bloodline with me
Mm.
and starting something fresh and something that I can pass down, and I hope my sons will pass down.
So the interruption of that intergenerational trauma is like a big deal. And I think in the way in which you're phrasing this, I can see how much you got it. Like you understand what it takes and you're in the process of doing it.
For today.
For true. Like true.
For today, I'm just
Because
working
it
on
moves, right?
It does.
It moves.
Some days are better than others.
Yeah.
I'm living someone's dream right now, even though it feels, this last year has been a year of character building and discipline. It's been so painful.
Yeah.
But looking back, so much growth. And one day's good and one day's bad. I remember a few years ago when I was crushing it, making money hand over fist and basically out doing, I was up to no good when I was traveling on my sales blitzes. And, I would go out and party and we would make money and then I would come back and I was living a double life. And I remember coming back and I'd go to the gym. I work out at Lifetime Fitness. I got my gym family there. It's a place I absolutely feel at home. I'll supercharge my energy in the morning there by just saying hi to everybody that I know. And it really gets me into flow state. But I remember seeing people that were probably, in the thick of it or in the forest, right? And it was really easy for me to give them advice. Hey man, don't miss the forest for the trees. Like, hey dude, keep smiling. Like it's going to get better. You can do this. But having been in the struggle this past year, man, it was a lot of character building and it's really easy to give that advice when you're doing well, but when you're not, it's much harder.
Well, I think it's like that, the pullback on the arrow. When you go to grow into your next age and stage of life, you've got to go through the pullback in order to go forward.
Absolutely.
And so this is like a normal part of the process, yeah? It hurts and it's normal.
Being forged in fire.
Forged in fire is normal.
Yes.
And it hurts so much.
It does. And afterwards, it always feels great. And you look back and it all makes sense.
Yeah.
But if there's anybody out there right now that's struggling, that's in the fire, hang in there, keep fighting. That's one thing I talked to one of my coaches about, and he does the human design based on when you're born. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but I think I'm 39.
Okay.
It's like the fighter.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've had to fight. If you want to talk about resilience, I've had to fight constantly for everything that I've had and everything that I've wanted in life. It's never come easy. So if you're in the fire right now, keep fighting.
Yeah. What I would like to talk about is the intergenerational interruption you're doing.
Sure.
Because what's coming from you is not what came for you. You've had to interrupt that pattern. And as you are leading your family, and as you are welcoming your newest child, perhaps today, to your family, we see you taking on the mantle of the family man who leads a team. Can you talk to us about, I know you've talked about the tenets, but can you talk to us about the things that you find hard? So I can hear all the good things that you do. You love really well. You speak highly into their higher self really well. You've got great leadership. You've got great vision. You've got the mission of who we are. You've got the identity. Amazing. What's the thing you're working on as it pertains to you growing into the leader of a big family, a family of 6?
Well, I've had some recent milestones. We've talked about all the good things. I just celebrated for the first time ever in my life, in a 10, 15-year battle with addiction, a year of sobriety on Monday. So that's been a big win for me. A year ago today, I had a pretty interesting story that really forced me to be on the path that I'm on now. And I'm so grateful to God that, that it happened that way. I was just baptized a couple weeks ago. I was raised heavily religiously and stepped away from the faith for a long time. But I've come back to that. So there's definitely been a series of events leading me to where I am now. So it hasn't been, this beautiful path, especially this past year. This past year has been really the year of growth.
Yeah.
If you're asking me what I'm working on right now.
Yeah.
The answer to that is simple things. Patience with my wife, with my children, kindness, right? Sometimes I'm really short-tempered. I have a need for control and I want things to be done a certain way. Still letting the ego die. Sometimes in arguments about being right. it really doesn't matter. And sometimes we can lose a day over a silly argument, and we aren't getting that time back. So simple things like that are something that I think I'm really focused on. Um, on a larger scale, something I'm really working on is the entrepreneur life balance.
Mm.
Got 2 businesses right now. One that I've been building for last year that's finally starting to take off. Another opportunity that I didn't want to miss out on. So I leave in the mornings, before 7 a.m. and I'm back most days, at least after 7, if not later. And so right now in these golden years with my kiddos, the first 4 years they say are the most impactful, right? Where you really, you form that deep bond. And they say, if you don't do the first 4 years, or at least like, I think the next, like the 5 to 11, whatever that segment is, you don't do that right, you can't really get it back. And it makes, it's really hard to have that same impact on your child. So trying to create the time for what is most important, which by far is my family. My family is more important than anything else in this world. Anything else that I've done, anything that I've accomplished is my nuclear family unit. And making the time to balance that between, being an entrepreneur and finally being on the right path and doing it well and having fun, right? But also trying to really carve out and segregate, date nights, family Fridays. We're fully committed to family days on Saturdays. Sunday's a recovery day because I go so hard. And we've also made time to now go to church, right? But we got to go to Costco, got to get the other stuff in. And with a family with four and under and 2 businesses, it's busy right now. So as far as virtuous things, treatment of the way of not having those tendencies, kind of like my dad, trying to be soft-spoken, kind, and compassionate, right? Because I can be intense, like I mentioned. And I don't want to be too tough on them. I want them to live at a certain standard. I want my wife, I know what she's capable of. I want to hold her to that standard, just like she's held me to. But at the same time, I got to remember to be tender. And as far as being, balanced in life between work and family time, that's been something I've really had to focus on balancing.
It was a tricky thing.
Yeah.
So first of all, congratulations on your year. That is huge.
Thank you.
That is a big deal. Yeah.
It is a big deal. You have no
Virtual
idea.
high five. I love that. It's really fantastic.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Second thing is it makes sense to me that if you, and I forget the number that you said you were in human design, but if you said you're a boxer or a fighter, I think maybe it was one of the two.
Fighter.
Fighter. If you're a
Let me
fighter,
look here. He sent it to me yesterday when I was prepping for this.
totally fine. You've got a fighter, and I can feel across your timeline how that skill set has allowed success for you and has allowed you to get up over and over and over and over and over and over again. So it's like a superpower, it's a strength. And when we overuse our strengths, they become our shadows. And so then what we're doing in this year of yours is we're developing the counterbalance, which is your softness, your tenderness, your kindness, your patience, the words that you've used. And that, of course, is exactly right. So of course, this is where you're working. And of course, this is what's taking your attention.
I haven't read the book Power versus Force, but I think it's something along those lines if I understand the premise. I've been forcing myself and just absolutely dragging whatever it is that I need across the finish line.
Yeah.
Right. And living, it's been a constant battle.
Yes.
And to be on the other side of it, semi-victorious now, because I don't want to say that, I've arrived, definitely haven't arrived, but getting to work on some of those other things. Yeah, the balance. I really like that you said that.
We've got to build the other side, which you didn't have time to develop. And when you think about your early years, what I think I heard is that you survived middle school and on. You were missing the pieces you needed. And so you leaned into your strengths to survive, which is reasonable and admirable. And so you've built this wonderful life. You've made community. You've found places you belong. And from there, you've then been all like, oh, I've got this whole chapter, this whole segment of self that I am ready to focus on because now's the right time. And so I think everything's in order.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I got the Another chapter that I want to move to at some point is this impact and significance piece,
Let's do it.
which is telling that story. But
Yeah.
I don't think I can get to that chapter yet. I think I have to live in this chapter for a while, which is really still growing personally and trying to make sure that some of those counterbalance pieces that I really have in place and these changes are permanent. I have to be honest with you, it really scares me to be where I am today because if I'm being honest, I don't know how I got here. I do. It was a lot of fighting, but it was a lot of divinity or something greater than myself that's been looking out for me and got me this far.
Yeah.
Right. And I can't really attribute where I am to, rah, I did this. I'm just grateful to be here and to have made the mistakes enough times and to have gotten up enough times and just to have figured it out, I think, to be where I am today.
Yeah. I might guess something, so correct me if I'm wrong, but it feels like what got you to here is not what's going to get you to your next thing. And
Well
that
said.
might be what's a bit scary because you don't have the roadmap. You're
Yeah.
actually going to have to build it.
Well, especially as a control guy, I want to know what we're doing. I want a linear path to
Yeah.
get there,
Yeah.
and I want to know now.
Yeah. I mean, it's reasonable.
And so when I want to, like, I post on my website that this mentorship thing and a community thing, those are things that I want, but I'm still developing. I'm still curious, when somebody asks me what I've learned, I'm like, yeah, what have I learned? Like, what have I truly learned? And I can give the textbook answers, but like, if I'm being honest in my heart, I don't know that, it scares me that they're stuck and they're there because making the same mistake so many times again, it's just, this is a long stretch without a mistake and it's permanent. I want it to be permanent, but that fear creeps back in.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's not necessarily, meaning for addiction, which has been a big struggle in my life, but just the person that I am in making these permanent changes and being authentically myself and wanting to do that, help people, mentor, create this community group for men for the right reasons, which is truly to help them.
Yeah.
What is the real message that I'm trying to get across? And is my intention pure? Or is it maybe because I want a little more validation and I want to be a little bit more of an influencer, right? And wrestling with that and truly being, pure and honest in my intentionality with those. And then once we get there, and let's say that those intentions are pure and I am doing it because I am, and I have a good story, crafting out that message and figuring out how to do it without having arrived and being one step ahead and just saying, hey, come do it this way, try this, and giving the message out and actually having people hear it and making those changes. That'll be cool. That's the next phase. I don't know how to do it. I want to do it.
Well, I had a guest in here called Brad Hart, and he talked about the 33% rule. And I'm going to just focus on the last 33%, which is about spending 33% of your time with your hand down the ladder to help the next people up. And then I think those 33% to surround yourself with of people that are like-minded where you are right now, that community for self. And then 30% or 33% of people that are above you that have already done what you're trying to do, whether it's in personal development, etc. And so maybe what we're looking at is recognizing that you are where you are, and that is further along than some, and therefore you can start to shine your light and put your hand out for those that resonate with you and your message.
I really like that. That's a good viewpoint.
Yeah.
One thing I've also learned is obviously what you're saying right now, which is being keenly aware of the people that you surround yourself with.
Yeah.
But it's a good measurable way to go about it. I really like that. For a long time, I thought I was the high tide that was raising all the ships.
Yeah.
But it's a law of averages, right? And so if you're the only high tide in a group of guys that, is not trying to rise or that is not at that level, you will inevitably be brought down. And so I love that. I'm so grateful for the people that I have in my life that I consider true friends now, not the wolves in sheep's clothing, the people that I can call when I need mentorship or when I need support, and then the people that call on me.
So yeah, there we go. So the 33 times 3, I think we got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
1%. What's the last 1%?
Well, I think maybe it adds up and it's like 0.1%.
Yeah.
So then maybe you can spend that however you want.
Yeah.
You know?
That's your free time. That's your free. That's really what it feels like these days. I mean, if I'm being serious.
Do with it what you will. Yeah. Okay. Hello, Wisdom Stripes listeners. It's your no-nonsense, fierce fairy godmother, Meg Tuohy here. I want to pause just for a moment. Have you ever felt like you're functioning well, but not actually feeling much? Have you ever wondered when you stopped checking in with yourself? Or how you became so good at showing up for everyone else, but slowly disappeared in the process? That quiet disconnection is something I see in so many capable women. And it's exactly why I wrote HeartPrint. Not to give you another system, not to hand you another checklist, but to help you rebuild trust with your own inner wisdom. Because clarity doesn't come from trying harder. It comes from remembering who you are underneath the noise. If you've been waiting for permission to come home to yourself, this is it. You can get your copy at yourheartprint.com. Make sure you tag me on Instagram once you've received your copy. Now, let's get back to the episode.
I was exhausted after work yesterday.
You were?
It was one of those tough days.
Okay.
And I wanted to go home and rest.
Yeah.
And it was about 4:30 in the afternoon. And I was thinking about driving to my house and
Yeah.
what that looked like at that
Yeah.
time of day. And I was like, this is not the restful place that I need to go.
Yeah.
I want to go to a place where I could take solace and just close my eyes for a little bit. But
Yeah.
how selfish of me, because when I got home, I couldn't get to the kitchen before I had one boy on my leg, the other one screaming, "Daddy, Daddy," and my daughter showing me, her little project that she'd made, a butterfly. And they just like, we have some time on the couch. We just want to cuddle. And they all hop on me, and my wife just looks over at me. She's like, "Look at you with your boys." We went out and swam, and it was just the perfect afternoon. And it was the rest and solace that I needed. But back to that 1%.
You get to spend it any way you want.
And that's how I'd spend it.
Yeah, well, there's something very rejuvenating about that. I can hear that the cup is being filled, and I think that matters. I think it's the quality of the rest. And so even though the rest was full, it was, and 4 kids under 4, right?
4 and under, we can't claim that. Technically under 4.
Under 4, there we go.
4 and under.
There we go. Roger that. So that's a lot. It's a busy stage of life. It's a very physically demanding stage of life.
God bless my wife.
Right. And you. And so you've got this team that fills cups in a way that no other age and stage of life does, I think. And so I love that you allowed your cup to be filled that way.
Thank you.
Mm.
It's back to one of those things where I'm not the guru and it wasn't my plan. It wasn't my intention. Kind of back to how I'm here today. It's one of those things where I just, I went with the flow, and that's exactly what happened. And I was exactly where I needed to be, getting what I needed when I needed to be there. And that's one of those things, you can call it whatever you want, divinity, but it's cool to be guided.
I love that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to switch tack because I'm really interested in whether you found, because I can hear the father piece, like the thoughtfulness around learning to become a father after being somewhat of a fatherless son. You had spoke quite highly of your beautiful mum and that she was right there, did her very best, was a bit tight, tried to fill the gaps, was around, was a teacher. Did you find it tricky to be a husband? Or was that easier? Or was that none of those words and you've got a whole other way you'd like to describe it?
The question is being a husband.
Yeah.
And how that was affected by the relationship with my mom.
Yeah, or just in general, was that something that came easily to you, or has that also been hard won?
That's a big one. It's a good one. The relationship with my mom was interesting growing up. My mom often elevated me to the pedestal of kind of being a husband and having that husbandly role when I wasn't ready for it. And I didn't understand it as a kid, but it wasn't right. Nothing weird, but it was just, my mom did the best she could, and I love her for it. But definitely a unique upbringing there, and a lot of conflict between me and her in my teen years. And the way I spoke to my mother, I learned a lot from my dad. And so our relationship has been very stressed, even up until, recently, like the past 2 years, where I finally had to, draw a boundary and say, if this is going to continue like this, I cannot have you in my life,
Mm.
right? We cannot. My wife did the same thing with, with, with her dad, right? Because we were very protective of the people that we let into our life, even family, right? Because we want a certain quality of lifestyle and the relationships matter. So the way that's translated with my wife is, me having to actively focus on, being super respectful because I have been disrespectful to my wife. And those ways of speaking were just natural to me. So I had to rewire a lot of that. That was hard. Now, I've always been one to fall in love easily. And so the way that we started out, I think, is something that is so important for anybody considering marriage, especially in this day and age. In our first date, the story of how we met is pretty funny. I won't go into it, but um, when we finally got out on that first date, we sat at the dinner and I looked her in the eyes and we talked about how we both come from broken homes. And if we were going to get married, we were going to do this thing one time, no matter what, till death do us part. That's the only D word that we're using. We wanted to have a lot of kids and a big family because neither one of us had that. And so we were in alignment very quickly. And that stuck with us. Can I cuss on here?
I think so.
Through a lot of bullshit. I put my wife through a lot of shit, with my struggles with addiction over the years. And she stuck by me, oftentimes when she shouldn't have. I'm so grateful for her. But it was a hard transition because I was a playboy. I was a party animal. And so coming from that style of life to slowing down, the golden years were good. Our first few years were good, but you take a lion out of the safari, right? And you go put him in a cage and you give him steak for a while and then you stop giving him steak, there's urges there, right? And so I've been good, but it was a struggle there to realign my wiring, right? It was a struggle to really become the man that I wanted to be in terms of a husband that actually shows up for his wife. Because for a long time she had to show up for me. And we're very traditional, right? In our religious views, in the way that we run our home, and in most senses, we're very traditional. And so thinking about that, the husband is supposed to be the rock, almost so much maybe that he's, cold and shut off, right? And, but the wife, leans, I guess, on him. I think I'm saying that right. But, I had to lean on her for a long time. There were some years where I was going through some significant mental health issues with anxiety and, social anxiety and stress. My hormone levels were way out of balance. And I would come home and, pull the covers over my head and eat chocolate. And, that I would get my dopamine releases like that during the week. And on the weekends, I would go out and binge really hard because I didn't know how to cope with all these stress, like all the stresses that I was having, all the inadequacy, all the ups and downs, all the depression. And so I leaned on her really, really hard. I mean, way harder than any man should, and than most men, than most women would probably have tolerated. But for some reason, she stuck around. And so now I'm able to finally grow into the man that I can be, where I'm leading the home. Not in the sense that she led the home, but it just, there's just certain things and questions that you don't rely upon your wife for. It's just, be a man. And so to be a man, you don't have to be completely hard and closed off. But you do have to be able to lead from the front. And so that's something that's taken me a long time to learn. There's been a lot of lessons. And once again, I'm just so grateful that she stuck around so that I can reward her, finally now, for the type and quality of woman that she's been.
She sounds very important.
I hope not to redirect this entire conversation to my family, but they're the most important part of my life.
Yeah. There's something about being on the receiving end of that generosity
Mhm.
when you've come from such hardship that kind of maybe takes a while to accept. And then when you finally understand what they did for you, what she did for you, it undoes you a bit, I think.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's not an indebtedness. It's a gratitude.
Yeah.
It does. But yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be where I am today. Might not be alive.
Mm. There is something poignant, sacred about her leadership in holding that space whilst you repaired the decades of neglect or missing out on or missing pieces of. And so there's something very important to be said for what you grew through in that space she made for you. And did you do some things that hurt or harmed? Yes. And what I can see is you did come out the other side, and that piece is complete. And she made the space or the container for you to do that. And
She's
then you did it.
she stuck around while I was completely broken and put myself back together.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Good woman. Good woman. Every man needs a good woman.
Yeah. I know it's hard to speak for her, but what you know of her, how did she do that?
I'm I don't have a good answer for that. Love. It
Like,
was that expectation that we set in the beginning. Sometimes I probably even leaned on that a little hard, like, you're not going anywhere. We said it, right? Not to that
yeah,
extreme, but that expectation. And so, yeah, I mean, she loves me. She's just got an amazing heart. We both do. We
you do,
both
yeah,
do.
totally.
My heart had gotten really hardened for a long time, but back to my ooey gooey self, and I was, 6 and 7 years old. My mom, we were, went to church a lot, and it was a big part of her life, and
Yeah,
it is now again. But I can remember just seeing, a homeless person walking by. I mean, like, my eyes would well up, and so we packed up, paper bags with Vienna sausages and tracts, and, I was out there 6, 7 in Albuquerque, New Mexico, like, praying over homeless people, spreading the good word,
yeah,
and that tenderness.
yeah.
We're both that way. We're both very, very tender people. So,
Mm.
don't get me wrong, if you cross me, I'm a pretty crazy guy, but
I mean, I think we got that memo, but
yeah.
we're in the other part now.
Yes, thank you for redirecting.
Yeah. So here's the thing. We've come a long way here. We've talked a lot about all the different ways that your life has led you to this moment. We've talked about the year of sobriety. We've been able to focus on the moments that led up to this moment. We've talked about the hardship of the last year in your workspace. And we've talked about the question mark that hangs over you because what got you to here is maybe not going to get you to where you want to get to next. I think we've got a bit of an idea about where you want to get to next.
Mhm.
I'm curious though, and let me just finish that sentence. When you get there, where you'll be is someone who is a community leader that is helping those who identify with similar struggles find their way, perhaps in a slightly more efficient manner because you had to figure it out yourself without perhaps, when you go through the fire, it can take a long time when you're by yourself.
Mhm.
And so now you've figured it out so you can help people with that process. Do you see yourself focusing mostly in that space with your family life? Are there other things that you're dreaming of? Take us into the next 10 to 20 years.
So recently, a mentor of mine, one thing I think that's just really important for anybody that's looking to grow is coaching, mentorship, professional help, especially if you're struggling with trauma, like, get professional help.
Mm.
One of the biggest thing that helped me through a lot of traumas that I've had, but, um, a couple in particular was getting that professional help. So get professional help, if
Mhm.
you're struggling. And then after you get professional help and, when you're in a position to do so, get a different level of professional help in coaching. Get somebody who can hold you accountable and help you rise, and then get some mentors and some really high level leadership of people that you can rely upon. Most of which you got to pay for, some of which you can find pro bono. But there's the people who usually know the most, or their time is also valuable.
Mm.
So Uh, recently, the mentor he'd shared with us a common principle, which is you can do more in a lot of people think they can do more in 1 year, I think, than you can do in 5. And so we talked about writing like 5-year goals, but we wrote out, 10, 15, and 20. And so I got really audacious with like the 20-year stuff. I was like, billionaire, right? That would be great. But more importantly than that, when I looked at my 20-year goals, it was the biggest one for me was being my kids' role model and hero, right? In 20 years, that's how I want them to describe me. I want to celebrate 25 years of marriage with my wife, and have her describe me as the best husband in the world. Some of those other goals would be, be an international speaker on stage, somebody that can deliver an amazing keynote and change lives, massively. Other than that, other than those big, massive goals, the financial one I just threw up there for fun, I'm not really sure where life's gonna lead me. I'm riding the path and I'm having faith. I think I wanna have a massive impact, but again, it's hard to really I really don't know.
That sounds kind of cool.
Yeah.
You've got a good framework, and then we'll see what other surprises are in store for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I'm really conscious that there might be a group of people listening here that have or identify with the level of pain and experience you've been through. And it feels like I just want to circle back and close a loop with them. So if you're a listener and you're feeling the level of pain, or you understand Brad's story, but perhaps you haven't had resolution or some relief yet, I wonder, could you share some words of wisdom for those who might be suffering in this moment in similar ways that you understand?
Well, if there's anybody that's, suffering at a level I think about when I think about suffering, I go to the extreme.
Mm,
I think about my best friend, one of them. I mean, my first best friend, he passed, of a drug overdose in 2016. That was hard for me. And I've lost quite a few over the past few years. One to suicide last year, and one to stage 4 cancer. But the one that really sticks out to me as far as suffering was my best man. And, he came out to visit me in 2020. And this guy's like, he looks like Dolph Lundgren. I mean, just a big 6'3" blonde guy, funniest guy in the world, the life of the party, um, audacious. And, one of my favorite things I got from him was, he loves to make people uncomfortable awkwardly.
mm,
And so you would never guess, he comes from really good seed. His mom's a DA, his dad's a retired 1-star general.
mm.
You would never guess that a guy like that was suffering, and he wouldn't let you know. But, he came out and, he took his life in our home. We had to clean him up. It was really, really hard, and I remember that night, that I went to bed, he was out there because he'd been going through some stuff personally. He didn't share too much. He just came out, and funny enough, I'd been 8 months sober and, through my sobriety way that weekend, so I could bond with him and take care of him, right? But I said, "Let me know if you need anything." I wish I would have asked him what he needed. Because when I walked away on the couch and I looked at him, I was like, "Yeah, he'll be there in the morning. I'll talk to him then." And he wasn't. And so I wish I could have just told him he struggled, I think, living in, his parents were tough on him. His parents and I are close, but his parents were tough on him. And, he was, I think, living in the shadow of his older brother. And that was really hard for him, I think, not feeling like he was enough. And so if there's anybody out there, I felt it a million times. It feels like they're not enough or that they're struggling with something and they just can't overcome it, I encourage you to just keep fighting and just to give it one more day and to call someone. And if you need anything, you know, it, I can't say reach out to me, but reach out. Don't be scared to ask. There's so many people out there that are willing to help you and that will give help. And if there's anybody out there that's feeling like they're less than enough, I just want to tell you that you are enough, that you can make it through this fight. I know how hard the fights are. I've been there with the shame and the suffering and the why am I doing this? But just keep fighting. You're enough. You're going to make it and life is going to turn out more beautiful than you can ever imagine if you just have faith. So just hang in there. Hang in there and reach out and get help. Call me. I'll give you help. Seriously, I would help any stranger off the street or
Right.
anybody that calls me.
It's the darkest before the dawn.
Mhm.
And it is the courage to let the dawn come. I think that in those moments, you can feel the level of pain that you want to surrender to sometimes. And if we can just encourage you to hold and call someone,
Absolutely.
and don't stop calling till someone picks up.
And beyond that, if it's not that dark, a little tip that I can give somebody,
Yeah.
if they're not, on despair's doorstep like that, but they're just having a hard day,
Yeah.
is, something I learned in service work in AA was, you know, call somebody else and ask them how their day is doing when you're having a hard day and listen to somebody else's problems. And you'd be surprised how much helping somebody else is really a selfish act.
Yeah. I think it's also soothing
Yeah. To
sometimes
know
to
you're not
call.
alone.
Yeah, and also sometimes just to call someone and let them download, it lets your brain focus somewhere else.
Yeah,
Just have a
absolutely.
little rest from your own internal
They'll be there when
cycle.
you finish the call.
Yeah,
There's
you can
problems.
go back to the cycle. That's a little joke, friends, because sometimes we get a bit stuck in that rumination spiral,
Oh,
and
it's bad.
interruption is like, "Hi, friend, what are you doing?" And then they give you a laundry list, and your beautiful attention gets to shift, and then you get a little perception that it's not just the pain that I'm in, there's also other people's worlds, and there's other things, and then as soon as we start to widen that perspective, we can feel some relief, even if it's only a little bit.
Yeah,
Every little bit
I love
helps.
that.
Yeah. That was really fun. So now we're all like very good friends. You, me, our listeners, super cozy. It's the end. We're very relaxed now. We've got you a whole lot of other perfect drinks for you. Some carbonated, some freshly squeezed juices, a couple of like ginger shots, all the good stuff, right?
Mhm.
Laid out here, you can have whatever you want from the table, all of course non-alcoholic. And all of us are like comfy. We're relaxed. We're ready to just lean in because we got to have this time with you. We know each other now. All of the walls are down. And we just want to know what your last piece of wisdom or advice is. What's the last thing we need to know whilst we're in this open connection
Yeah.
moment?
Don't be afraid to give up one thing that's holding you back so that you can have it all. You can have all the rest of it. You got that one thing, and you know what it is. You got that one thing that's holding you back. It doesn't have to be alcohol. It doesn't have to be addiction. It could be your relationship with somebody that you need to let go. It could be, physical fitness. It could be that level of discipline that you need to have, but you're not making the sacrifice so that you can have that. Whatever it is, give up that one thing so that you can have everything else.
I mean, I like it because you could do it for a trial period. You could say, I'm going to do this thing every day for 3 weeks. And then I'm going to set a note in my calendar and I'm going to decide, did I move the needle? Did it make a difference? And I reckon 99.9% of the time it does. But it gives you also then out where you can be all like, I tried the fitness thing. It wasn't for me. I'm now going to try another fitness thing. Allow yourself, I reckon, the ability to assess and to put that marker in. That feels nice.
Usually we know what we need to do.
We do.
It's just a matter of, are you going to do it?
Are you going to do it?
And when are you ready to do it?
Yeah. Yeah.
When do you want it bad enough?
Yeah.
And that's what it was for me for a long time. And
Yeah.
I just finally wanted it bad enough.
Yeah. And then what happened?
Life transformed, especially when I made that sacrifice and I made room for all these new beautiful things to come in.
And did they?
Look at me. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. Look at if you look online at my family or the life that I have, the gifts that I've been bestowed and blessed with. Yeah. I mean, I have it all. I'm living somebody else's dream. And I just have to remember that, especially when times get tough. And that goes for anybody out there. You're living someone else's dream. Doesn't matter your circumstance. There's always somebody who's going to have it better, and comparison's the thief of joy. And there's always somebody who's got it a lot worse than you're living their dream.
Yeah. So let's just remember, we'll just do one underline here and then we're done. The underline here is you put something down you make room for something else.
Absolutely.
There we go.
Everything else potentially
Yeah.
could be.
How about that?
Yeah.
This was super fun, Matt. Thank you for coming in and being so open. So much wisdom.
I really appreciate it. I'm just hoping that potentially this is good for someone.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that I did good. Give me the validation. How did I do on my first podcast? Give me a grade here.
Yeah.
And how can I improve and get better? Because I'm always open to constructive criticism.
We're going to go with 10 out of 10.
Gosh.
Yeah. So there is no improvement. This was exactly what it needed to be for the very first time that you did it.
Awesome.
How about that?
I love it.
Yeah. Thank you for your openness. Thank you for sharing your heart. I feel like there is a saying from a famous Australian journalist, and I'm going to butcher it, so I'll do my best. But the idea is that behind every story is a shape, and the shape of the story matches someone else's pain or question. And so there will be people that heard this that were like, yeah, that I understand, that I resonate with. And if he can do it, maybe I can too.
Amen.
Yeah. And why not? Why not be you that has it change? I'd like to thank Matt Sessa for joining me today on Wisdom Stripes. In today's episode, we explored his extraordinary journey, rising through the ranks of sales and entrepreneurship, facing personal battles, and ultimately emerging with a mission to help others transform their lives. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe so you never miss an update. You can follow Matt by searching at matt.sessa. Visit his website, mattsessa.co, or reach out directly via msessa@elevated-brokerage.com. To stay connected with me, follow at Meg Tuohy Official on Instagram. Thank you for listening to another episode of Wisdom Stripes. I hope you gained a little wisdom today. My name is Meg Tuohy, and this is Wisdom Stripes. Thank you for listening to this episode of Wisdom Stripes. Follow me on @MegTuohyOfficial and leave a comment and review. I'm looking forward to meeting you here next time on Wisdom Stripes.